miracles, not only out of compassion, but in a small area. It was just, it's not a big thing. You know, when you think about all the problems in the world, losing an axe head is what? Not so important, right? But it was important to this prophet or this band of prophets, and God helped them. And you see, I think one of the things we need to learn is God is concerned about everyday life. He's concerned about the problems we face. Like my brother has a car that is almost 25 years old, 26 years old. And he really needs to get another car. So my sister found a car for him, and it was a good price. It was fine. And I said, go take it to our friend and let him look at it. And I prayed that the friend would see how the car really was. So he looked at it and he said, good price, bad car. And God answered my prayer. Because I don't want my brother to buy a bad car. That would be bad for him. So we'll keep his money and he'll keep on looking. And now buying a car is not that important when you think about the world events. But it's important to him. And so I think the first story teaches us God is interested and concerned about everyday life. So for Ulrika or Gabi or Jaja or Lucy or Dolly, God, for Buddy, for Kathy, God is interested in our everyday life. And that's why we can come to him. And we'll think, well, God, he's so busy with all the other people in the world, he doesn't have time for us. And that's not true. God is interested in our everyday life. There's a second story that we want to look at, and this is starting in verse 8. Now notice what happens in verse 8. Now the king of Aram was at war with Israel. And after conferring with his officers, he said, I will set up my camp in such and such a place. Now you may remember we had looked at this king in chapter 5. He had sent Naaman, the leper, to be healed. And the king of Israel said, you're looking for a war. Well, Naaman was healed, but the king of Aram, Ben-Hadad II, was really looking for a war. And so he was getting ready to attack. And so he plans and gets ready, and he moves to a certain area. Notice verse 9. The man of God sent word to the king of Israel, beware of passing that place, because the Arameans are going down there. So the king of Israel checked out the place indicated by the man of God. And do you know what he found out? The Arameans were there. They had set a trap for him. And so he avoided the trap. And that happened not just once. Notice what it says. Time and again, Elisha warned the king so that he was on his guard in such places. This enraged the king of Aram. He summoned his officers and demanded of them, "Will you not tell me which one of us is on the side of the king of Israel? Where's the traitor? Who's passing out military secrets?" Notice what verse 12 says. "None of us, my lord the king," said one of his officers, "but Elisha the prophet who is in Israel tells the king of Israel the very words you speak in your bedroom." Goodness. Now you ask yourself the question, how does he know that? The answer is, I don't know. But Elisha knows everything about Ben-Hadad. "Go up, find out where he is," the king ordered, "so I can send my man and capture him. If he knows what's going on and is telling military secrets, we will stop the leak." The report came back. He is in Dothan. Now you may say, where in the world is Dothan? Well, Dothan is southwest of Samaria. It's one of the main roads that goes down to Egypt. It's not a small city, but not a great big city. What is he doing in Dothan? I do not know, but that's where he is. Then he sent horses and chariots and a strong force there. He went by night and surrounded the city. When the servant of the man of God got up and went out early in the next morning, an army of horses and chariots surrounded the city. "Oh no, what are we going to do? The Arameans are here. They've come for us. They've surrounded the city. We cannot escape." Typical preacher. Verse 16. Notice what it says. Typical. "Don't be afraid." And you say, you should be afraid. There are lots of people and they're coming to take us away and there's no escaping. "Don't be afraid," the prophet answered. "Those who are with us are more than those who are against us." Those who are with us are more than those who are with them. Preacher. I don't know, but you may not be able to count. Look outside, look out the window, how many people they have, and look at how many people we have. The odds are very much against us. Notice verse 17. Elisha prayed, "O Lord, open his eyes so that he may see." Now that's a strange prayer, isn't it? Open his eyes that he may see. And the servant must have said, "You must be crazy." Why? I can see perfectly well. I don't even have glasses. I can see really well. You really couldn't see. Then the Lord opened the servant's eyes, and he looked, and he saw the hills full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. Hey, I didn't know that they're invisible armies. Yes, they're invisible armies. And they're at the command of God, and he sends them wherever he wants to. And he said, today your assignment is to protect the city of Dothan. Now, can you imagine being surrounded by angels? Wherever you go, whatever you do, you're surrounded by angels. We may not see them, but they are sent as God's messengers to serve those who are inheriting eternal life. You say, where does it say that? Hebrews 1. So that's pretty good. What would you think as the servant of Elijah? You know, we're pretty safe. No big problem. Who has the problem? The Arameans. Well, what are we going to do with the Arameans? Well, notice what it says. As the enemy came down toward him, Elisha prayed to the Lord, strike these people with blindness. And he struck them with blindness, as Elisha had asked. Now, can you imagine you are an army and you cannot see? Nobody can see. That's a problem. Well, if you can't see, you're going to ask for help. Where are we? Where should we go? Verse 19. Elisha told him, this is not the road, and this is not the city. Follow me, and I will lead you to the man you are looking for. And so he led them to Samaria. That's about 40 kilometers away. And after they entered the city, Elisha said, Lord, open the eyes of these men so that they can see. Then the Lord opened their eyes, and they looked, and they were in the middle of Samaria. When the king of Israel saw them, he asked Elisha, what should we do with them? Let's kill them all. You know, they're our enemies. Just get rid of them. That way they won't fight against them. Now, who thinks that's a good idea? You know, they've been fighting the Arameans, and the Arameans are now there. They're completely helpless. Let's kill them all. Notice verse 21. When the king of Israel saw them, he asked Elijah, shall we kill them, my father? Shall I kill them? He wants to kill them. 22. No, do not kill them, he answered. Would you kill men that you have captured with your own sword or bow? No. Set food and water before them, so that they may eat and drink and then go back to their master. So he prepared a great feast for them. And after they finished eating and drinking, he sent them away, and they returned to their master. So the bands from Aram stopped raiding Israel's territory. Now, when you look at that, you say, well, unusual story. Really unusual story. So let's look at that in connection with chapter 6, 1 through 7. Remember the axe? Small thing. The next story is something big. Invasion of Israel. And God answered. Did you notice that God answered each prayer of Elisha? Did you notice what he did? Here, verse 17. Elisha prayed, opened his eyes. Verse 18. Elisha prayed, strike these people blind. Verse 20. Lord, open the eyes of these men. 3 times Elisha prayed. And 3 times God answered and did exactly what he said. So, small thing, big thing. Why do you think Elisha could hear what was going on at the king of Aram?
God told him.
God told him, certainly. It wasn't that there was a traitor with the king of Aram. God told him what was going to happen. Second question I have for you. What do you think about the reaction of the king of Israel? Kill them all.
Normal, I would say.
Pardon?
I think it's normal
It's
because they
normal.
are
It's
enemies.
it's what you should do, right?
Yes.
What about what he did? He didn't kill them. What did he do?
Give them tea to drink.
Food and drink. Did you notice he said he prepared, verse 23, he
A great
prepared
party.
a great feast. It's not just, I'll get you a broochen and some bottled water. He prepared a great feast. And he sent them back home. When people do bad things, I think you pray, and when God answers your prayer, you display grace. Some of you may have heard me say this, and I've said it frequently. When people do bad things to you, they expect you to be angry and difficult and just like they are. They expect that. They know how to handle that. But when you become gracious and you don't respond in kind, and you don't fight back and give them what they deserve, they don't know what to do. And grace is like a tank that cannot be stopped. You may say, well, the king of Israel is crazy. He let his enemies go. Notice what happened at the end of 23. So the bands from Aaron stopped raiding Israel's territory.
Mm-hmm.
So when he displayed grace, God changed their hearts.
That's amazing.
It's almost unbelievable, isn't it? Now, why they stopped? I mean, I would have said, I don't want to go attack them anymore. And God will strike me blind, and I don't want that. The last time I was there, I was surrounded by the city of Samaria, and they were getting ready to kill me, and God intervened and saved my life. God is interested in small things, and God is interested in big things. When you pray, God answers prayer. When people do bad things, you respond with grace. You know what Romans says? I think you may remember from last year. Do not be overcome by evil,
Mm-hmm.
but overcome evil by doing good. It's Romans 12. So that's a little bit different than what most people do. When people do bad things to you, don't be overcome by evil. Don't act like they do. Overcome evil by doing good. Now, let me say this so that there's no misunderstanding. When people are doing bad things and hurting you, you should stop that. It's not like you should keep on hurting me. That's not what I'm talking about. But when people talk about you badly, you don't talk about them badly. When people cheat you, you don't cheat them back. You protect yourself. You do what is right to protect others, but you don't become like them. Stan Toussaint, a good friend of mine, gave me this example, and I really like it. There was a guy in a German town. He was there, and he wanted to make sure that the German town was clean. And the Schornsteinfeger came. And the Schornsteinfeger in the past was kind of really dirty. That's why they wear black suits. You know, they have a black hat, black coat, black pants, black everything. Do you know why? Because when they wear black, you don't see the dirt. And he decided he's not going to let the Schornsteinfeger come into the town because he's going to pollute the town. So they had it out. They fought. And the Schornsteinfeger said, "It's okay, I'll go away." And then the guy who was trying to protect the town, he looked at himself in the mirror, and he was just as dirty as the Schornsteinfeger. And when we fight against evil, and we use evil methods, we become just as evil as they are. And that's one reason we show grace. See, God is concerned about small things and big things. He is concerned that we show grace when people do bad things. Let's look at the next story. Next story, verse 24. Sometime later, Ben-Hadad, the king of Aram, mobilized his entire army and marched up and laid siege to Samaria. There was a great famine in the city. The siege lasted so long that a donkey's head sold for 80 shekels. of silver, and a quarter of a cab of seed pods for 5 shekels. So, how many of you would like to have a donkey's head to eat? It's not a lot of meat, is there? And the meat is not real tender. And the animal is not, it's not a steak. And 80 shekels is worth about, well, you figure it out. It's about 3 months' wages. So I don't know how much you earn, but add up how much you earn, brutto, multiply it by 3, and that's how much a donkey's head costs. How many of you would be willing to pay, 10,000 euros for a donkey's head? Well, do you know why it was so expensive? Because there was no food. Did you see? It's a great famine. And that's a major problem for a large city. As the king of Israel was passing by on the wall, a woman cried to him, "Help me, my lord king." The king replied, "If the Lord does not help you, where can I get help from you? From the threshing floor? From the wine press?" Then he asked her, "What's the matter?" She answered, "This woman said to me, 'Give me your son so that we may eat him today, and tomorrow we will eat my son.' So we cooked my son and ate him. And the next day I said to her, 'Give up your son so that we may eat him.' But she had hidden him." That's kind of bad, isn't it? Do you
Very
see?
bad.
Do you see how bad the situation is?
Mhm.
And the king says, "I can't help you." When the king heard the woman's words, he tore his robe. He went along the wall. The people looked, and there underneath he had sackcloth on his body. He said, "May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if the head of Elisha, the son of Shaphat, remains on his shoulders today." Who's responsible for our problems?
If
God.
the king,
Mhm.
yeah, but if the
Right.
king had killed the people from Aram, then he wouldn't have that problem.
That's what he thought. So,
Mm.
do you see how he responds?
Mm.
When I have a problem, God is at fault. And can't find God, but I can find his spokesman, and I'm going to chop off his head. Now, when Elijah was sitting at his house, the elders were sitting with him, and the king sent a messenger ahead, and before he arrived, Elisha said to the elders, "Don't you see how this murderer is sending someone to cut off my head? Look, when the messenger comes, shut the door and hold it shut against him. Is not the sound of his master's footsteps behind him?" The king sent people to capture Elijah and to execute him. "Close the door and keep it shut, because the king is coming. I have a word to say to him." And while he was still talking to him, the messenger came to him. And the king said, "This disaster is from the Lord. Why should I wait for the Lord any longer?" So, all this is happening because of you. So Elisha is actually in the city. You know, the city's surrounded. Elisha is in the city, within the walls of the city. Elisha said, "Hear the word of the Lord. This is what the Lord says. About this time tomorrow, a seah of flour will sell for a shekel, and 2 seahs of barley for a shekel at the gate of Samaria. Tomorrow, the problems will be gone. Prices will be back to normal or cheaper than they have been." That would be like me saying, I don't know if you've noticed it, diesel and gas has gone up. Strait of Hormuz, it's gone up, way up. Now diesel is down to 171, and we think great and wonderful. What would you think if I said, and tomorrow, diesel will be 85? You say, "Buddy, you are crazy. That is just not possible." The officer on whose arm the king was leaning said to the man of God, "Look, even if the Lord should open the floodgates of heaven, could this happen?" He's saying, "Elisha, this is not possible." "You will see it with your own eyes," answered Elisha, "but you will not eat any of it." Let me stop there. What do you think about this officer? Think it's okay?
Yeah. He
Yeah,
doesn't have any faith.
He doesn't have any faith. He
yeah,
lives his life based on facts, right? So we're selling a donkey's head for a fortune. We don't have any wheat. And when we have wheat, it's going to be really expensive. It's not going to be as cheap as you think. And did you notice? He doesn't see.
yeah.
He doesn't see what's going on. Verse 3. Now there were 4 men with leprosy at the entrance of the city gate. They said to each other, "Why stay here until we die? If we say we'll go into the city, the famine's there, and then we'll die. If we stay here, we'll die too. So let's go over to the camp of the Arameans and surrender. If they spare us, we live. If they kill us, we die." So these are 4 lepers. They are outcasts. Nobody wants to have anything to do with them. If they go into the city, no food, will die. If they stay by the gate, the Arameans are going to come and the Israelites are going to fight, and they will die. If we go out to the Arameans, 2 possibilities. They kill us, then we die. Or they can say, "Well, let you live because you came and surrendered." That's our only hope. So at dusk they got up and they went to the camp of the Arameans. When they reached the edge of a camp, not a man was there. For the Lord had caused the Arameans to hear the sound of chariots and horses and a great army, so that they said to one another, Look, the king of Israel has hired the Hittite and the Egyptian kings to attack us. So they got up and fled in the dusk and abandoned their tents and their horses and their donkeys. They left the camp as it was and ran for their life. So these four guys go out, and what do they find? A camp full of food. And the Arameans had run away. The men who had leprosy reached the edge of the camp and entered one of the tents. They ate and drank and carried away silver and gold and clothes and went off and hid them. They returned to another tent and took some of the things from there and hid them also. And they said to each other, We're not doing right. This is a day of good news, and we are keeping it to ourselves. If we wait here until daylight, punishment will certainly overtake us. Let's go at once and report this to the royal palace. So they went and called out to the city gatekeepers and told them, We went into the Aramean camp, and not a man was there, not a sound of anyone, only tethered horses and donkeys, and their tents were just as they were. And the gatekeeper shouted the news, and it was reported within the palace. And the king got up in the night and said to his officers, I will tell you what the Arameans have done to us. They know we are starving. So they have left the camp to hide in the countryside, thinking they will surely come out. And then we will take them alive and get into the city. Israelite king says it's a trick. One of the officers said, Have some men take 5 horses that are left in the city and go out and see what's going on. So they selected 2 chariots with their horses, and the king sent them out after the Arameans, and he commanded the drivers, Go and find out what has happened. They followed him as far as the Jordan, and they found the whole road strewn with clothing and equipment that the Arameans had thrown away in their headlong flight. So the messengers returned and reported to the king, and the people went out and plundered the camp of the Arameans. Okay, Samaria is surrounded. The Arameans run away. Did you notice these 2 chariots went all the way to the Jordan? You go from Samaria to the Jordan, then from the Jordan up to Damascus. That's about 30 kilometers, 30 or 40 kilometers. The whole way you see people throwing away stuff. Why are they throwing it away? Because they want to go faster. Whatever they heard scared them to death. And the Arameans are gone. The problem is solved. Did you notice? Not one prayer. Did you see that? You know, Elijah said, Hear the word of the Lord. Nobody prayed. And God intervened in a really big way. So a seah of flour was sold for a shekel, and 2 seahs of barley was sold for a shekel, as the Lord had said. Now the king had put the officer on whose arm he leaned in charge of the gate, and the people trampled him in the gateway, and he died, just as the man of God foretold when the king had come down to his house. You will see it with your own eyes, but you will not eat any of it. And that is exactly what happened to him. The people trampled him in the gateway, and he died. Why do you think the people trampled him to death?
They must have been so hungry to
They
get
were
the food.
so hungry, yes. Now there's food. There was a riot. Was there enough food for everybody? Yes.
Yes.
And he tried to control them. If I had been him, I would have said, I'm going to stay out of your way. There's enough food for everybody. Now look at this. God helps with the axe. God helps with protection. God helps in a famine. And he provides amply. Did you see how each problem got bigger? The axe surrounding the city of Dothan, a severe famine. In each time, God intervenes in an unexpected way. Okay, Dolly, you have a question.
Yes. What I don't understand is how come there is such a severe famine in Israel, but then these Arameans are having so much plenty of food. The area is very close
Yeah,
by.
yeah. It didn't say a famine in Israel. It's a famine in the city. The city they laid siege to it. So they surrounded the
So,
city. They cut off the land, uh, the stuff that would come into the city, and they're
mm,
starving the city.
so,
Okay? So, you know, just imagine, where do you live? In Polheim?
yeah.
Okay, just imagine the people in the Kreis Gießen block off the roads to Polheim.
Mm,
They don't allow anybody in or out. They cut off the water supply. They cut off the gas. They
mhm,
cut off the fuel. They burned the fields all around Polheim.
mm,
Now, Edeka, I don't know where you go shopping, Edeka, Eva, wherever, they will have food for a little while, won't they?
mm.
But no more supplies. How long will it last till the people of Polheim don't have enough to eat? And you have to remember, they didn't have refrigeration back then. They didn't know how to can things. Their stuff had to be fresh. And laying siege to a city was terrible. It's not just that there's hunger, there's disease, you can't get rid of the waste. It just
Mm.
piles up. Disease is rampant. And all the day and all the night, the Arameans are shooting at you. It's a terrible, terrible thing. And that's why the king said, Elijah is at fault. I should have killed them all, but he told me not to. And God's at fault. And, I know lots of people who have problems in their life and they say, God's at fault.
Yeah, the word famine kind of makes you think there is no water, nothing is growing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what they did is they only had a little bit of water for a lot of people. What the Assyrians would do and the Arameans would do is they would poison the wells.
Mm. They
So
still do
that,
that in Samaria.
pardon?
It still happens in Samaria where the settlements are that the Arabs, they poison the wells.
Yeah. And so you don't have water.
Mm.
No water to drink. Can't give it to your cattle or your horses. You don't have enough water to put it on the fields. Fields don't grow. It is laying siege to a city is terrible.
Mm.
Now, the best example that I have out of modern time is what happened in St. Petersburg during the Second World War. First, the Germans laid siege to St. Petersburg, and then the Russians laid siege to the Germans. And it was terrible. And I can understand the four leopards. They say, we're going to die one way or the other. Let's go give up. And if they kill us, okay. But at least we'll have a chance to live. There's one more thing I want you to notice. Did you notice who becomes the messenger of good news?
The lepers.
The lepers. And did you see how selfish they are at the beginning? They go eat for themselves, fill their bellies, and then take off and with food and gold and silver and clothes, and they just go and hide it. And then they go back and do it some more. And then they said, hey, we're doing so well, we should tell the city. And lepers become the messenger of good news. God uses people who are rejected by society to carry the good news of deliverance. Now, there's one more story we want to look at tonight. This is in chapter 8. Now Elisha said to the woman whose son he had restored, she's a Shunammite, to life, go away with your family and stay for a while wherever you can, because the Lord has decreed a famine in the land that will last 7 years. So the woman proceeded to do as the man of God said, and she and her family went away and stayed in the land of the Philistines 7 years. And you may remember she was wealthy. And at the end of the 7 years, she came back from the land of the Philistines and went to the king to beg for her house and land. The king was talking to Gehazi, the servant of the man of God, and said, tell me all about all the great things Elisha has done. And just as Gehazi was telling the king how Elisha had restored the dead to life, the woman whose son Elisha brought back to life came to beg the king for her house and land. Now, you may say, what happened to the land? I'm not sure. But she's gone. The land isn't taken care of. Perhaps the taxes are not paid. And it's been confiscated by the king. So, did you notice the coincidence? Gehazi is just talking to the king about this woman, and she appears. It's a coincidence, not planned, or at least so it seems. Gehazi said, "This is the woman, my lord, the king. This is her son, whom Elisha restored to life." And the king asked the woman about it, and she told him. Then he assigned an official to her case and said to him, "Give back everything that belongs to her, including all the income from her land from the day she left the country until now." She had lost everything, and God gave it back. I want you to notice something about this king. He's not really a good king. He's the son of Ahab. But he hears about the miracle of Elisha, and he says, "We don't want to have God against us. And God has blessed this woman, and we will be nice to her." He doesn't really show faith, but he restores it because he knows God is taking care of this woman. Okay? So you see the stories we looked at, the Acts, the city Dothan surrounded, the deliverance of the Arameans, the besieged city of Samaria, and the loss of land by the Shunammite woman. Can you see in these stories desperation?
Mm-hmm.
You see, that's a theme that goes through all these stories, desperation. See that?
Mm-hmm.
And
I
these
can't
people,
understand how this lady could eat her own child. I just can't understand that part.
Be terrible.
well, you know, I didn't write it. I don't understand, but it must have been really, really bad for people to get to be that desperate. And that's not the only time that the Old Testament mentions that. With the
Mhm.
uh, capture of Jerusalem, that happens. Both 586 and 70 AD, that happens.
Yeah, but a mom would die before she did anything to her child. So it's difficult to
Well,
understand.
but that's part of the curses that God promised Israel if they disobey. Even the nicest woman will eat her child. That's in uh, uh, Leviticus 28 and Deuteronomy 27. And these are actually just the consequences of their disobedience. So did you notice? They're experiencing the consequence of this, of their disobedience. They are desperate,
Mhm.
and God intervenes. Sometimes based on prayer. Sometimes nothing. Sometimes just a strange coincidence. Do you see the fear that is in all of these stories? How would you feel if you were in one of these stories? Would you have a reason to be really afraid? Yes. Do you see the unbelief of some of these people?
Mhm.
The officer, the servant, even the king. All of these people show fear and unbelief. What do these stories show about God's power?
It's
Well,
completely unlimited.
Completely unlimited. That's a good way of saying it. Completely unlimited. Uh, and did you notice he does different things at different times to accomplish his will? Um, and he intervenes in small crises, a personal issue, the Shunammite's land, the lost axe, and he intervenes in public problems. It's the same power that raised the axe and raised the sun that delivers the Shunammite woman's land back to her, protects the city of Dothan, and gives food to Samaria. One last thing that I want to mention. And God doing all of this still didn't change a lot of people. Isn't that true? God doing all of this still didn't change a lot of the people. They remained as blind as the servant of Elisha. If they would just open their eyes to see what was going on. Now I have another question for you. Which of these stories do you think is relevant for us today? Or which of
all of
these?
them.
Yeah,
All
all
of
of
them.
them. Mhm.
God help me out. All of them.
Yes.
Explain one. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, covers all of life.
hmm Yeah, like you with the car.
Mm.
That's a personal incident. Accidents happen all day, all over in Germany, but God intervened and protected you. I don't know how, but he did.
But that was a small thing. I know that at least 3 times he saved my life, with car things.
Yeah,
My goodness.
yeah. I mean, God saved my life. They went and took out a wisdom tooth. They in the hospital. I was going to a dental school, and it was a dental surgeon that was doing it. They cut an artery on my left side, and I don't know which artery it was, but they couldn't get it to stop bleeding. And when I finally woke up, I was covered in my own blood. And if I had been in a dental office, I would have been dead. And God saved me. Small things, really important to me,
That's not a small thing.
but
Big
in
miracle.
terms of the world, small thing,
Mhm.
but important to me. In terms of geopolitical things, God does all kinds of things. We don't really see it, what he's doing, but he does. Are an encouragement to us. God intervenes. He provides what we need. He reveals what is hidden. He reverses hopeless situations. He calls his people to trust him and display mercy and grace. And I think these stories speak to us today. So in just a minute we are going to pray, and we'll take some prayer requests, but I think we need to think about this story in terms of the way we pray. We can thank God for caring for our daily needs. We can ask God, help us to trust you when circumstances feel like they're impossible. We can pray that God will help us to display a heart of mercy and grace toward others. We can say, God, help us to see you working in unexpected places.